It was just another ordinary Thursday afternoon when my husband, Ryan, came home early from work, something he never did. Usually, he didn't walk through that front door until after 6 p.m., exhausted, tie loosened, and laptop bag slung over his shoulder. But that day, the sound of his car pulling into the driveway around 2 p.m. caught me completely off guard. At first, I thought something must have happened. Maybe he got sick, or there was an emergency at work. I was in the kitchen folding laundry, and I remember calling out, "Ryan, is everything okay?" No answer. The house felt eerily quiet, just the low hum of the fridge and the faint ticking of the wall clock. His shoes were by the door, his jacket tossed carelessly on the couch, unusual for him, since he was always so tidy. My chest started to tighten as a strange feeling crept over me. I decided to go upstairs to check. As I climbed the steps, I heard something faint, a soft laugh, muffled voices, coming from our bedroom. My heart dropped instantly. It wasn't the TV. It wasn't a phone call. It was someone else. I froze halfway up the stairs, clutching the railing, my hands trembling. Every step I took after that felt heavier than the last. I didn't want to believe it, not Ryan. Not after everything we'd been through together. When I finally reached the bedroom door, I could hear his voice, low and familiar, but then, a woman's giggle followed. My stomach turned cold. I pushed the door open, and what I saw inside made my entire world stop. The door creaked open slowly, and for a second, it felt like time just stopped. The curtains were half drawn, letting in streaks of sunlight that fell across the bed, our bed. And there they were, Ryan, and a woman I'd never seen before. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, wearing my robe, the soft white one Ryan had given me for our anniversary. His hand was on her thigh, and when they both turned toward me, their faces went pale like they'd just seen a ghost. I couldn't move, couldn't even breathe. The pile of laundry slipped from my hands and hit the floor. The sound made them flinch, but I barely registered it. My heart was pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. "Babe," Ryan stammered, jumping to his feet, trying to pull up his pants, "it's not what it looks like." I actually laughed, a bitter, broken sound that didn't even feel like it came from me. "Not what it looks like. Then tell me, Ryan," I said, my voice trembling, "what exactly am I looking at?" The woman stood up too, clutching the robe tighter around her, avoiding my eyes. My eyes burned with tears, but I refused to let them fall. The anger, the shock, the betrayal, it all tangled inside me until I couldn't tell what I was feeling anymore. I took a step back, shaking my head. "You came home early," I whispered, almost to myself. "And I wish you hadn't." He tried to reach for me, but I turned and ran, down the stairs, out the door, barefoot. My heart felt like it was splitting in two. I didn't even know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay there another second. I don't even remember how long I ran. The cold pavement bit at my bare feet, but I didn't care. I just needed to get away. Away from that house, away from him. Every step felt heavier, like my body was trying to keep up with the chaos in my head. I ended up at the small park a few blocks away, the one where Ryan and I used to walk our dog when we first moved into the neighborhood. It was almost empty that afternoon, just a couple of kids on the swings and an old man reading a newspaper on a bench. I sat on the grass, hugging my knees, trying to breathe through the tears that wouldn't stop coming. How long had it been going on? Was this the first time, or just the first time? I caught him. Every memory of our relationship flashed through my mind. Our wedding day, our late-night talks, the plans we made for the future. And suddenly, all of it felt like a lie. My phone started buzzing in my pocket. Ryan. I stared at the screen, his name glowing like a cruel reminder. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. "Greater than Ryan. Please, let me explain. Ryan, it's not what you think. Ryan, I made a mistake. Just come home." I threw my phone onto the grass. The nerve he had to call it a mistake. A mistake was forgetting an anniversary or burning dinner, not betraying the person who trusted you with everything. A woman sitting on the next bench glanced at me, probably wondering why I looked so broken. I quickly wiped my face, pretending I was fine. But deep down, I knew nothing was fine. I didn't know what to do next, whether to go home, confront him again, or just disappear for a while. All I knew was this: the life I thought I had was gone. It was getting dark by the time I finally picked up my phone from the grass. Dozens of missed calls, more messages, some from Ryan, some from my best friend, Claire, probably because he'd already told her his version of what happened. I felt empty, like I was running on autopilot. My feet carried me back toward the house even though every part of me screamed not to go. But my purse, my car keys, everything was still there, and a part of me wanted answers. When I reached the front door, the lights inside were on. Through the window, I could see Ryan sitting on the couch, elbows on his knees, face buried in his hands. The other woman was gone. For a long moment, I just stood there, hand on the doorknob, trying to gather enough strength to step inside. When I finally did, he looked up immediately. "You came back," he said softly, eyes red. I didn't answer. I walked past him, straight upstairs, to the bedroom. The robe she wore was crumpled on the bed, my robe. I stared at it for a few seconds, then threw it into the trash bin without a word. Ryan followed me, his voice shaking. "Please, just let me explain. It's not what you think. She's no one, okay? It was a stupid, meaningless mistake." Meaningless. I turned to face him, my voice breaking. "You brought her into our home, Ryan. Into our bed. Do you even hear yourself?" He stepped closer, tears in his eyes. "I messed up. I was drunk, it happened once, and I regretted it the second it started. Please don't throw us away for this." I laughed bitterly. "You threw us away the moment you let her touch you." Silence filled the room. I grabbed a small overnight bag and started packing. A few clothes, my phone charger, nothing else. Ryan stood there helplessly, watching me as if realizing, maybe for the first time, what he'd actually lost. When I reached the door, I turned to him one last time. "You said it wasn't what I think," I said quietly. "But trust me, it's exactly what I think." Then I walked out. Claire opened her door before I could even knock twice. The look on her face said it all. She already knew something was wrong. I hadn't even realized I was crying again until she pulled me into her arms and whispered, Hey, it's okay. You're safe here." I broke down completely. The kind of crying that comes from deep inside your chest, the kind that hurts. Claire didn't ask questions right away. She just let me cry until I could breathe again. When I finally told her everything, how I'd found Ryan, what I saw, the robe, the lies, she just shook her head in disbelief. "I never liked that man's new, overtime, excuse," she muttered. Something always felt off. She made me tea and insisted I stay in her guest room for as long as I needed. That night, while she slept, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, scrolling through my phone. Ryan's messages hadn't stopped. Greater than Ryan. "I'm sorry. I love you. Ryan. She means nothing. Please come home. Ryan. Don't let this ruin us." But then, around midnight, one message stood out, not from him, but from an unknown number. "Greater than unknown, you deserve the truth. Check his email." My blood ran cold. For a second, I thought it might be some cruel prank, but something about it felt intentional. I hesitated, then opened my laptop and signed into Ryan's email. He'd always trusted me with the password. And that's when I saw it. A string of messages between him and that same woman, dating back months. Not one night. Not a mistake. They'd been meeting in hotels. There were photos, messages about missing each other, and even plans for a weekend trip he'd told me was a business conference. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the laptop. My heart felt like it had been shattered twice over, once when I saw them together, and again now, realizing it wasn't an accident. It was a relationship. I closed the laptop slowly, staring into the dark room. My tears had stopped. What replaced them wasn't sadness anymore, it was something colder. It was resolve. By the next morning, I wasn't the same person who had run barefoot through the streets crying. Something inside me had shifted overnight. I was done begging for explanations. I wanted truth. I wanted power back. I drove to our house just after sunrise. The streets were quiet, dew still on the grass, and my heart pounded with a strange mix of calm and fury. When I opened the door, Ryan was in the kitchen, head in his hands, staring at a cold cup of coffee. He looked up when he heard me, his eyes swollen, his face pale. "You came back," he said softly, like he couldn't believe it. "I didn't come back," I replied. "I came for answers." He started rambling immediately, apologizing, swearing it meant nothing, saying he didn't want to lose me. I listened in silence, my arms crossed, my face unreadable. Then, when he paused to breathe, I slid my phone across the counter, open to screenshots of his emails. "Do you want to try again?" I asked quietly. "Tell me this was a one-time mistake." His mouth opened, but no words came out. The color drained from his face. "How long, Ryan?" I demanded. My voice was steady now, stronger. "How long have you been lying to me?" He dropped his gaze. "About 6 months," he whispered. I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. 6 months, I repeated. Half a year of sneaking around while looking me in the eye every night like nothing was wrong. He started crying again, saying he was lonely, that we'd been drifting apart, that she just listened to him. That was the moment something inside me snapped. "You were lonely," I said, stepping closer. "You think I wasn't lonely too? I thought we were just going through a rough patch, but instead of fixing it, you crawled into someone else's bed." He reached out for me, but I stepped back. "Don't touch me," I said sharply. "You made your choice. Now you have to live with it." I grabbed my things, the rest of what I needed, my documents, jewelry, a few photos. As I walked toward the door, Ryan followed, begging me not to leave, saying he'd change, saying we could go to therapy. I turned around one last time. "Therapy can't fix what you killed," I said softly. "And I'm done trying to save something you buried months ago." Then I closed the door behind me, for good. A week had passed since I left Ryan. I was staying with Claire, trying to rebuild some version of normal, but every time my phone buzzed, I jumped. Every time I closed my eyes, I still saw that moment in our bedroom. Claire had been incredible, reminding me to eat, to rest, to breathe. She even helped me contact a lawyer about starting the divorce process. It all felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart, not my own. But just when I thought I'd finally hit the bottom of this nightmare, another crack appeared. It started with an email. The subject line simply said, "You don't know the whole story." It came from the same unknown address that had told me to check Ryan's emails. My first instinct was to ignore it. I'd had enough heartbreak for a lifetime, but curiosity won. I opened it. Inside were several attachments, photos, screenshots, even bank statements. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then I saw it. Ryan's name, repeatedly. Payments, transfers, a hotel receipt, but not to the woman I'd caught him with. Another woman, and the timestamps overlapped. My heart sank. This wasn't just an affair. It was multiple, at least 2 that I could confirm from those files. The emails showed Ryan promising one woman money to keep quiet, and telling another he was ending things soon. I felt sick. My whole marriage, the man I'd built my life around, was a stranger. A manipulator. I forwarded everything to Claire. Within minutes, she called me, her voice trembling with anger. "Why, and he wasn't just cheating. He's lying to both of them. And one of those payments, look at the name, she works at his company." It hit me then. If one of them was an employee, Ryan wasn't just unfaithful, he could be in serious trouble. Workplace affairs, hush money, it was all there in black and white. For the first time since this all began, I wasn't crying. I wasn't even angry. I was focused. He had betrayed me, lied to me, but now, I had something he didn't, proof. And I wasn't going to use it for revenge. I was going to use it to make sure I finally got justice. 2 weeks later, I stood outside Ryan's office building, the same one where he'd spent late nights at work, the same place that now hid the truth I was about to expose. My hands didn't shake this time. I wasn't the woman who had found her husband in bed with someone else anymore. I was the woman who knew exactly what he'd done, and wasn't afraid of him anymore. I'd already spoken to my lawyer that morning. The evidence I'd found, the payments, the emails, the internal company connections, had been sent to both her and the firm's HR department. I didn't need to confront Ryan face to face for revenge. I just needed him to see that I wasn't afraid to hold him accountable. Still, I wanted to say it. One last time. He looked stunned when I walked into his office. "What are you doing here?" he asked quietly, eyes darting to the door like he was afraid of who might see me. I set a single manila folder on his desk. "That," I said, "is everything you've been hiding. Every lie, every payment, every email. I sent it to your company this morning." His face went white. You didn't." "Oh, I did." I cut him off calmly. "You told me it was just a mistake, Ryan. But I've seen the receipts. The messages. The hush money. You didn't make one mistake. You made choices." Over and over again, he started to stammer, saying I was overreacting, that I was ruining his life. I almost laughed at that. "No," I said quietly. "You ruined it yourself. I'm just walking away from the wreckage." For the first time, he looked small. Not powerful, not confident, just small. I turned to leave, but paused at the door. "You know," I said softly, "the day I caught you, I thought I'd never feel strong again. But today, I actually pity you." Then I walked out, and this time, I didn't look back. Outside, the air felt lighter. The sun hit my face, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe again. My phone buzzed, a message. From Claire. Greater than Claire, HR just suspended him. "You did it." I smiled, not out of revenge, but out of relief. I wasn't the broken one anymore. I was free. That night, I sat on Claire's porch with a glass of wine, watching the sunset. The pain was still there, yes, but it was fading, being replaced by something new. Peace, clarity, and the quiet strength that comes when you finally remember who you are. He came home early that day, and that's how I found out who he really was. But losing him, that's how I found myself. Mending Heart. The end.